being his favorite win condition. Obviously, I get excited about that, but Mortar hasn't been great as of late. But Spear Goblins early on, think I might have a chance.
Yeah, and like you said, Mortar hasn't been great often, but what we did see work is the Mortar Hoggies decks in the past month, and Hoggies actually got a buff, right? So that might not be a bad option either. If you are a good Mortar player, you could make that happen. And here we go. Hoggies, the first time we see them today, and I'm actually shocked that we didn't see them earlier on. But yeah, Furnace Mega Knight.
Yeah, Furnace Mega Knight with the log there. Definitely what you don't want to see when you're running Piggies. And Earthquake looking like the big spell right now. Gurikiyo going to take a lot of damage early on here. Piggies right behind that. Royal Delivery going to come down on top after that Hunter does a little bit of cleanup. But my goodness, that Mega Knight not getting cleaned off the board. The King Tower not waking up. And a nice Magic Archer lineup here. Higher. Turning up the heat, man. Wow, what a brutal first minute of play.
Yeah, and I don't know who that was in the game that put that in, the fire emote, but that was exactly how I was feeling, man. That was about as perfect of a start for Hire as it could get. And I'm not gonna even talk that much about the matchup. The way that he started off, he waited, he was patient. He had Hoggies as well. He had a good interaction at the beginning where he could have gone ahead and Hoggies with that Furnace, but that is where experience comes into play. I'm just gonna sit back. I have a heavy deck. There's no reason for me to test the waters, see what he has for my Hoggies. I'm gonna wait for you to toss them out. I'm gonna do my Mega Knight, and then I'm gonna counter. And that was just perfect Clash Royale yet again from Hire.
Yeah, that was just exceptional stuff going up against Gurikiyo here, who's only got 155 HP remaining on that top left-hand tower. Hire going to split these Piggies. The last time that we saw Gurikiyo from Japan, it was when he showed up in our 4th monthly final where he got 7th place. Hire also looking for a little bit of revenge this month as he hasn't had a ton of success here. The best placement he's got is 5th and 6th place in that exact same monthly final. He walked away just a couple spots ahead of Gurikiyo, but today he is playing really, really nice with only 40 seconds remaining. A Mega Knight, a Furnace. Seems like this is just going to be game number 1 in the bag for our player from China.
Yeah, this should be game over. GG, well played. And Gurikiyo at this point just has to focus on game number 2. And this is mainly, if I'm him, if I'm his coach, I don't know if he has a coach or not. I'm getting him into the mentality that this is preparation for Worlds. Do not be too hard on yourself. Do not get tilted. You're going to play the same player at Worlds. You know it's going to happen. Hire will be there. Let's see how much info we could get. Let's see his play style, what works, what doesn't work. And I think that's the way he has to look at it. He could still win. Very, very tough matchup here. But he is one of the best players in the world, like you said.
Yeah, Gurikiyo maybe just overspending a little bit coming to the competition. And the fact that we've seen so little of it today is a bit surprising.
Yeah, and you know what I think it comes down to? I saw a couple players tweet about spells and duels format. I think everyone's trying to be more cautious with when they use the fireball, but they're being too cautious and then not being able to use it. And like you say, I'm going to save it till I can maybe pinpoint something in my opponent's deck. And by the time you want to use it, the Flying Machine and the Mother Witch have already been used, and it's no longer the best spell to use.
So here we go. Gurikiyo is going to go with Mortar this time around. This is a pretty popular deck out there. We'll most likely see Snowball and Poison out of him as well. We could see Fireball instead of Poison, but Poison, another card that got a big buff. Wow, Balloon still gets a connection, even with that Valkyrie swinging on the bottom, 1650 to 1201 after that death damage goes off. Haven't seen any Poison yet either, which, again, with the slow, the damage that comes in, the time that it keeps units stuck in that Poison a little bit longer, still haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot of adaptation from now till the last chance qualifier on competitive play. Ladder is a little bit different because people tend to stick to their deck archetypes. They don't really have to update as much with the new meta. But when it does come to competitive, if we look at every time there's an update, the first month people are still a little bit, you know, undecided. Maybe let me go with what I'm comfortable with, what I've practiced the last 3 months just to be safe. And then they kind of add in as they get more experience, whether it's in the Queso Cup or the Bernard John Cup or any of these, right? That's what really caters to CRL. It gives players a turn to, I'm gonna try this out here, and if it works, let's evolve the meta into the competitive scene.
And it really does feel like CRL does shape that meta when you talk about what happens at CRL and then what happens after CRL, whether it's in Grand Challenges or on the ladder or in other competitions out there. It seems like once some of the top players in the world get together and they decide, all right, this is what seems to be working the best in competitive play, then the world follows suit. And right now it's a very unique position to be in because that hasn't really happened yet. And there we go. Poison finally comes out on that left-hand side over those recruits. And still a pretty even game here, other than that balloon drop early on, which is going to be a lot more difficult moving forward when you talk about the snowball, the mortar, the bats, and even the poison. The poison can be used to stop that balloon.
Yeah, but you can tell why mortar is his favorite win condition here, or his favorite overall deck archetype. He played that so perfectly. He knew exactly how much elixir was in Hire's hand to the point where he wasn't going to be able to loon onto that. He even predicted it with the bats in the previous one. This time around, the bats are just there for pressure, nothing other than that. But this mortar is gonna hit tower 3 times possibly.
Yeah, gets super aggressive there. Bats plus miner to keep everything behind that tower. Then the Goblin Cage is played up high. Not enough elixir in hand for Hire to get anything down to tank for that mortar. And now rinse and repeat. Mortar goes to the center this time instead. Bats are still there. Poison is in. And we're going to go to game number 3. Great stuff here from Gurikiyo, playing his favorite win condition and obviously making me a little bit happy. As you can see there, he's very pleased with himself going to game number 3. It always feels good to have that balloon connection early on.
Yeah, and I'm very curious to see what he uses here. Obviously, no Earthquake available, so we probably might not see, in my opinion, we shouldn't see Hog just because Hog is strongest with that. And Hire saying, you play Mortar, I can play Mortar as well. And that is one of the strongest things that Hire has in his, I guess, portfolio, is the fact that he can play any deck, any single deck at a high level.
So looking like some version of bait, but there's been a lot of different versions of bait out there. We'll see exactly how true and how old school Gurikiyo wants to go with traditional log bait. Obviously, we're seeing the bomb tower in there, and now here we go, skeleton barrel out opposite lane.
Yeah, there has been so many variations of bait that even when people say old school log bait, you don't even know which old school log bait they're talking about anymore. It used to just be Infernal Tower. Now there's 7 different old school log baits depending when you started playing. But this is looking like a very, very tough matchup for Hire in the sense that he can get to that bomb tower before you can get to that mortar. And again, that mortar, yes, it got a hit, but now you spent your cannon cart, you spent your mortar, and he is back on cycle with a full offense.
Yeah, Hire in his first game used log. Game number 2 uses, of course, arrows. So now not going to have a lot of responses to that goblin barrel coming in. Of course, has to get on top of that princess. So there you go. Fireball on top of the princess and the princess tower. And then Dark Goblin comes out opposite lane. Probably going to hold that snowball for when this skeleton barrel comes in, but he's going to have to figure out a way to clean everything up. That's a lot of damage to deal with without log.
Yeah, and the key to success here for Gurikiyo is that Dark Goblin. He doesn't have anything other than that Fireball to take care of it, and if he uses the Fireball, then it turns into Protect the Princess, right? It's either one or the other. If you give him the value of both, that is where you lose the game. Here we go. Dark Goblin probably going to get either Fireballed or a ton of value here, and those were very good archers.
Yeah, archers heads up right in the pocket, takes the Dark Goblin off the board. Now Fireball's ready. Didn't even need it because the mortar would have taken the princess off the board. So a little bit of an overspend there, but as we can see, Hire is ticking up to 10. And now we see Knight plus Cannon Cart just to catch that skeleton barrel, and still good damage comes in.
Yeah, and I think it might have been, they were good archers, but at the same time, it's what I just said, right? You don't want to give up that Dark Goblin for nothing, and that is how you play it. Bait out that Fireball. Your princess is free now. Princess taking care of the right-hand side, but, oh, he has Skeleton Army Snowball. This is
Snowball
rough,
comes
man.
in on
This
top
is
of the
very
army.
rough.
Yeah, that's tough, but the Inferno connects, gets a big sizzle in, 932 to 1371, and there you go. Dark Goblin once again going to get some good value. Defensive mortar cleans up the princess, cleans up the Dark Goblin, and Hire finds himself in the lead.
Yeah, and that was just, it's so smart out of Hire because I was thinking, right, you just mortar up high, you know he has Dark Goblin, he's gonna get that really quickly, but it was all a bait for that graveyard. He knew all along, yes, use the Dark Goblin, I have no problem, and I'm gonna Fireball it, and then how are you gonna defend this? Because you only have Skarmy left. such a heads up play out of him, and now forcing the Skarmy on this side. Dark Goblin goes down. Everything going in Hire's way right now.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Just everything working perfectly here for our Chinese player in Hire, getting some great defensive mortars in, cleaning stuff up. Inferno Dragon creating a lot of presence on the board. You know, when you talk about what Gurikiyo has to take care of that Inferno, or at least distract the Inferno, not a lot of options. Skeleton's starting to pile up. Dark Goblin comes down late. Only 1 minute left to play. Fireball damage is in. 511 to 1371. Mortar up high, but not high enough, or excuse me, far enough to the right to pull that barrel. And Goblin Barrel comes in, gets a lot of good damage there. 840 to 511.
Yeah, the biggest problem here I see is no big spell out of Gurikiyo. He needs to get direct damage onto all of this. Fireball comes in. Does he have anything else here? And it's getting to the point where you need to start doing damage. You cannot sit back against a log bait like this because they will overpower you. And even those skelly barrels getting onto your tower and doing a little bit of chip will lose you the game.
272. Skarmy comes down late. That's a little bit of an overspend. Can Hire take advantage of this? 425 remains. Graveyard out. Skeleton Barrel in. Goblin Barrel coming down. Fireball maybe on top of the barrel. No, Snowball goes there instead. And that is going to do it. Hire takes the tower, takes the set. You see a quick fist pump out of him. And what a beautiful showing from two guys that you know will be seeing at World Finals.